Good evening, everybody. It's your buddy Bruno. Remember me? Yeah, you usually see me sitting with a hat like this on, but I'm sitting in my, you know, lounging around the house stuff. Well, I just got back from a hot date. I got something to say. About 24 hours ago, our president, Mr. Trump, spent 100 minutes addressing Congress, the longest speech ever made by a U.S. president. Well, I guess he set a record there, didn't he? He spent 1% of that, 1 minute, discussing his plan to increase domestic U.S. ship production. Now, that's something I happen to know a little bit about. And he also talked about the Panama Canal and how we intend to get it back, he says. And he ran down President Carter for selling it for $1. Well, there was a reason for that. First, let's take a look at the plan for shipbuilding. It's going to be relatively easy, all right, to get authorization and whatnot to build, naval ships. And we need those. We really do. We need to be able to express our power, our seaborne power, as quickly and as lethally as possible. We do need to update our Navy. We also need crews aboard those ships. You also, or President Trump, I should say, also touched on our merchant marine. I know a lot about that too. But you can create an office real easy to increase our merchant marine. Increasing it, you ain't got a snowball's chance in hell, anybody. After what President Trump's done on the world stage, you ain't got a snowball's chance of getting the cargoes to put in those bottoms. You did it all backwards, Mr. President. You did it all backwards. We don't have the bottoms to move to and fro our goods abroad, or the necessities that everyday Americans rely on here in the United States. We don't have enough. We don't even have enough containers to move all that stuff on hand. Because you see, most containers that you see on trains and on ships, a lot of the containers you see in people's barnyards that they're using as storage, yeah. Those are all built overseas because they can build them cheaper. And there's so many of those, they're just sitting around stacked up like cordwood in places like Chicago and Salt Lake City and, outside of Los Angeles, So, it's a really complicated thing. So, in order to increase domestic shipbuilding, you're going to have to first convince investors that there's a need for these ships. Unless you're just going to take it out of the U.S. Treasury, and fund it that way. But remember, we're all broke, right? We're supposed to be cutting back, right? Well, the other thing you did is you started throwing tariffs around and threats of that. Well, that didn't go over too good. You treated, President Zelensky of Ukraine like shit when he came to you. And you violated the Budapest memorandum and enticed him to as well. Oh, that's real smart. Yeah, people have asked me, well, what do you expect us to do? Just keep throwing billions and billions of dollars at Ukraine? No, I don't expect that. What President Trump should have done is simply said, look, Mr. Zelensky, we can't keep going on like this. What would you propose we do to recoup our expenditures I can take that and go back to the American people and say, this is what President Zelensky has proposed. Not what President Trump has proposed. Give President Zelensky the chance to propose his ideas. And then say, well, I've thought of this. Is this workable? But President Trump can't do that, can he? So at any rate, we pretty much pissed off everybody else in the world. Wonderful. You want to increase domestic ship production, which sounds great to American ears, including mine, actually. But simply put, the way the president relates to international leaders and other nations is entirely disrespectful. And the other thing is, we don't have the bottoms. You don't throw tariffs around unless you've got bottoms to fill with stuff you can export first. All right? Then you cut the deal. You impose the tariffs and you say to the nations, you say, look, here's the deal. We will cut back on our tariffs if you allow us to bring your goods back to our shores in American vessels. We call them bottoms. All right? They come back in American ships with American crews under the American flag instead of China's or Panama's or South Korea's or Russia's, whoever the flag of convenience happens to be. You know, if you let us do that, you're making jobs for us, that's a good thing, and everybody wins. But you can't do that unless you can do it now. And we can't. That's where you messed it up. In the meantime, the anger over President Trump's insolence of this whole thing is just going to fester. And there's no getting out of that. Now, let's talk about the Panama Canal. All right? The Panama Canal is obsolete. Now, yeah, sure, there's been an upgrade. But it's going to be obsolete again. It really is now. That's because it relies on a system of dammed reservoirs, mechanical and hydraulic locks, to literally lift the ships from sea level up and over the mountains of Panama and then back down again so that they can get into the other ocean. It's quaint. It's cute. It's obsolete. The maintenance expenses are atrocious. That's why Carter gave the thing away for $1. The other thing is, even with the canal, the Navy can't move assets back and forth from the Pacific to the Atlantic or vice versa fast enough. It takes time to get through there and get through those locks. Now, for as long as I've been around practically, there's been the proposal to go through, I think it's either Nicaragua or Ecuador, with a sea level canal, which would have no locks. But that involves the United States acquiring a right-of-way to build that canal. And after you've just run down every Central American country with your foreign policy and treating their citizens that are illegals in our country, trying to find a better way of life, you know, like criminals, by handcuffing them and putting them on board airliners and flying them back. You know, now wait a minute. You know, the thing with going through Guantanamo for the hard cases, you know, the criminals, you know, I can kind of go along with that. All right. But the everyday, you know, we didn't do nothing but cross the border illegally and then fly them back like they're criminals. All right. That's pretty bad taste, Captain. Don't go real well. But nonetheless, it's done. You're going to have a hard time convincing Panama or any other Central American country to grant us the right-of-way to build a new canal across Central America. And even then, it's going to cost a pretty penny to build it. Once it's built, maintaining that thing is a relative piece of cake. You don't have to worry about reservoirs running dry, you don't have to worry about the maintenance of the lock. You don't necessarily even have to worry about the dimensions of the lock because there are no locks. It's like the Suez Canal. There's no locks. It's wide. And the ships transit it, and they don't go up and down. It's relatively cheap to operate. So, but it's, this is what you've inherited. Nobody held a gun to your head and said, you have to run for president of the United States. You took the job voluntarily. You've inherited these problems. So quit putting the blame on prior administrations. All right? Don't offer up excuses for why you can or can't do something based on somebody else's performance. Never mind that. It's in the past, and God knows you don't like dwelling on that. Just get the job done. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think you can. You lack the patience, the drive, and the vision to be able to do it, and you get that by appreciating history, the recent history of even people that have failed, and finding a way to appreciate it and turn it into a positive. Now, I'm neither Republican or Democrat. I'm as purple as they can be. But yeah, I do want to see more American bottoms. And yeah, I know that there needs to be an improved canal across Central America. But I don't think you can do it, Mr. Trump. Best of luck to you. You're going to need it. Well, that's all I got to say tonight. Good luck and Godspeed, everybody. I guess we'll see you around town.